Hello everyone, welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports, and a very interesting development within the Springboks as they officially confirmed that FASSI and NKOSI have been released from the squad and will return to South Africa today on Wednesday, which is quite interesting and well, I said quite a lot of people, but unfortunately, because I wasn't going to be able to do a live show today, I thought I'd do a very quick video, sort of breaking it down and kind of sort of maybe talking a little bit about where both these players are supposed to stand within the Springbok squad, because it's interesting that they've been released, and yet maybe a player like Salman Murat, for example, has not, and then that they've chosen to keep other players within the squad and release these two particular players. Now, the thinking behind releasing them is the idea that they want to get them back towards the Sharks, which is an interesting concept in itself, because why release some players, not others? Why these two and stuff like that? And what does it mean for their longer Springbok future? Are they being released because they are the two most expendable players type thing? You know, are they that much on the fringe? So we'll talk about that. But before we do, please do smash like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. So this is the statement that came out from SA Rugby, and this is what Jacques Nienaber said about the situation. He said that we completed the bulk of our on-field preparations on Wednesday, and our only remaining training session is our captain's run on Friday, so it made sense to release Spoo and Apelele to the South Sea Sharks. With our squad already selected for Saturday's test against England, all positions covered in terms of depth within the touring squad, should there be any last-minute withdrawals, we thought it would be beneficial for these players to get back into the fold with the Sharks who are preparing for their Vodacom United Rugby Championship match against the Scarlets next weekend. Now, it's quite interesting that these two players have been released. When you think that the squad, it's interesting that these two players were released, for example, and a Salman Murat hasn't been released. You know, somebody who... There's still Marvin Orie, you know, so there's still other players who come in, you know, but apart from that, I think these two players are probably the most expendable in terms of not needing them within the squad, because if there's an injury to, you know, you've still got Damian Willemse floating in around the squad as well, but you know, a lot of people were quite frustrated, for example, that FASSI wasn't released earlier in the year, well, in the last month to play URC rugby. So I think it's actually the right decision. And I think that obviously the Springboks in theory think that they can cope without them. That Damian Willemse has come through his concussion protocol, so he's obviously still available as utility back, so he can come in for this weekend. And so they sort of said that they're surplus for requirements. But I think quite a frustrating tour for both of them. I think for FASSI, I think that it was always going to need injuries for him to actually play. I don't think when they left, the thinking was ever to play FASSI during the tour. Maybe if a couple of injuries necessitated in terms of the type of players, but you know, I think it's one of those things that things had to have fallen in line for him to have played, you know, whereas like, for example, I don't think the plan was for JC Creel to play wing in the first test, but Spoo and NKOSI had an issue with his visa, as a result got to the camp late, and therefore they selected JC Creel, and then he put in a decent performance, and all of a sudden Spoo and NKOSI, who was probably touted to have played 3 tests on the tour, will officially leave it after only having been in the tour since about last week, I think Monday it was, and he will not have played a single minute of the tour. So it's funny how sort of life sort of comes at you quite fast. I think FASSI, Spoo and NKOSI missed quite a big opportunity to really sort of stake a claim and nail down that 14 jersey, and say to Cheslin Colby, listen, when you come back, you have to play me out of this jersey because I've come in and I've made a call, and put pressure on the coaching staff to sit there thinking, well, you know, can we really justify dropping Spoo and NKOSI? Now, of course you can, because Cheslin Colby's playing as well as anybody in the world at the moment, but you know, a big opportunity missed, I think, by Spoo and NKOSI in this trials going to it, to really sort of say that as soon as anyone's injured within the back 3, I should be considered. And it's an opportunity which I think JC Creel's grabbed with both hands, actually, and all of a sudden making him quite a valuable part of the squad in terms of making himself a utility back option, and that he can cover centre as well as wing. But in terms of FASSI, I think that as time will come, and I think that we were never going to test too much of our depth in this tour. You know, I think traditionally we've always done it in the mid-summer tours and stuff like that. So I don't think I think if there had been a 4th test, for example, or a Barbarians test, then of course we'd see a Grant Williams, you'd see Marvin Orie, you'd see Salman Murat, you'd see Thomas du Toit, you'd see a lot more of the players that we haven't seen just yet. But given the fact that the tour was so short, given the fact that we were playing some very good opposition, I think if we had played in Italy, for example, I think suddenly you can suddenly throw a couple of those players in. I think it was pretty inevitable that they weren't going to see game time. Well, FASSI wasn't going to see game time unless there were specific injuries. So I'm interested to see what people have to think in terms of, are we happy with the way the tour has come? Are we happy with the fact that these two have been released without playing any rugby, As far as I'm concerned, I think it's very important that they have spent a couple of weeks with the Boks, that they have been getting into the systems, and that, once you're part of that squad, you sort of tend to get selected first. You don't have to necessarily sit there playing yourself into the squad all the time. You're already on the radar. You're already part of the core group. So I do think it's important that I believe FASSI has spent time with the squad. I think, learning off Orphélie Leroux, learning off France Day, I think it has probably been quite beneficial for him. But at the end of the day, he needs to get back to South Africa and he start playing rugby again, because he hasn't played much rugby since, July. Playing, the 2 tests he's played, but that's pretty much been it. So I think it's probably the right decision. I think he needs to get back here, and I think he needs to get back into the Sharks camp, and he needs to be starting next weekend when the Sharks take to the field. Interesting to release NKOSI. I probably wouldn't have, but I suppose it doesn't really make sense to release one player, so maybe that's the thinking there. But I mean, if Jesse Creel were to pull up tomorrow on the Friday training session, NKOSI would, in theory, should be coming straight back into the side. But now it looks like they would back Damien Willems to come into the side and maybe move a couple of players around to accommodate him. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Smash like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. I don't think there's anything sinister. I don't think it's a case of they've compromised. They've compromised themselves, or they've been late to team meetings, or there's been a discipline issue. I don't think that's at all. I think it is genuinely just a case of, you guys haven't been able to get game time. We're going to send you back. Go get within your sort of setup, get playing, and go on and get ready and start pushing for the next year's Springbok call-up. But I wanted to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steven, and I'll chat to you soon.